Welcome to this session. For about 6 years, say since 2002, I have experienced occasions when there was bloody discharge from my rectum. I don't normally talk about this, but this is a condition that I'm working on. The discharge is kind of gummy. There's fibrous material in it, and recently there has been a lot more of it. So the situation seems to be deteriorating. As I understand it, again, I'm not an MD, there are two possibilities here. The first, for occasional discharge. We say the body is getting rid of polyps, which I assume is whatever it is, the body is flushing it out. The second, if you have continuing problems, a lot of it, is cancer. If I start looking at that possibility, I find myself thinking that cancer is probably the reason this is happening. The cancer, I believe, is called mesothelioma. The mesothelium is the middle layer of the skin. There's 3 layers of skin, 1, 2, 3. The middle one is the one in which this is occurring, and I believe it is tightly associated with the presence of asbestos. And that's interesting, because I have been convinced for many years that I've had asbestos in my body, and that it was a problem. As a child, for example, I never ran. I was afraid to. And I knew even at that time that it was my heart that I was concerned about. I can remember, in fact, I think in a previous video I talked about the fact that as a child, even in grade school, I would not run with the others. I simply watched. In 2003, when I first started working with frequencies, I created a group of about 5 frequencies and experienced some real improvement. I was able to run more. The aerobic activity was less frightening, and I could engage in it for longer periods. And I was pretty much convinced that something I had done had helped me with the asbestos problem. Let me tell you a little bit about the properties of this mineral. In the human body, it apparently is a tiny spine, extremely sharp and extremely hard. The body's approach is to send large white blood cells to envelop it, and they simply get a spike stuck through them, and nothing, they can't do anything. As I understand it, these frequencies allow the spine to collapse into a semi-liquid, which the body can then remove. Several people have said, well, who gave you the frequencies? It's a perfectly valid question. Now, there are frequencies in Dr. Hulda Clark's book, The Cure for All Diseases, but they aren't enough. And I suspect everybody who really does frequency work knows that they need more than that. So, where did the frequencies come from? Are they a secret? Well, nobody told me. I basically plugged in what I believed would work. So, where'd they come from? Suppose the asbestos itself in some way was able to communicate the frequencies to me. You're probably saying, this man is crazy. Well, this man might very well be crazy, but if I can cure myself by being crazy, I'm perfectly happy to be crazy. Let's try this. Who or what are you, your body? Remember about the models. What model do you use? None of these models about who or what you are correct. But one of them I call the vulnerable fortress. You are vulnerable. You are guarded by your immune system, and there are all these attackers around trying to get to you. And presumably the asbestos is one of them. If that were true, I can't imagine the asbestos giving me this information. Let's try another model. I don't know if it's any better than the first, but perhaps I can get use from it. Suppose I simply live in a beneficent universe. After all, I try to live my life in such a way that it does good, that in some way it benefits others. Suppose that's true for everything in the world, including asbestos crystals. Suppose these asbestos crystals find themselves trapped in a harmful situation that they can't get out of. Perhaps they would be willing to communicate to me in some way the frequencies that would allow my body to eliminate them and maybe free them from this situation that they're in. This model at least gives me some hope of understanding it. And if it's true, then perhaps if you have the problem, you can do the same thing. Well, in any case, I suspect that the asbestos was definitely affected by what I did in 2003, but then how come I'm still getting symptoms from it now? In fact, they seem to be getting worse. Here's my guess. I'm guessing that the frequency will only work for a limited amount of time, say a week or 2 weeks or a month or even 2 months, however long it is. And unless the body knows what to do at that point, how to flush out this material, they'll just turn back into spikes again. I suspect that the symbols I'm using, which are deliberately designed to help the body become more conscious, if you want, or aware of, or able to deal with specific parts of the body. If the body is becoming better aware of a lot of different areas, then it will probably be better able to actually eliminate the asbestos before it turns back into a spike again. And my guess is that's the difference. So I tried it again along with some new symbols. This was just last night. By that time, the bleeding was almost continuous. It was really getting bad. Immediately, two things happened. There was less bleeding, and today I can say there's a lot less bleeding. 2, the discharge is no longer gummy and fibrous. It's clear. There's occasional little pieces of fiber in there, but very few. So something has changed as a result, and I will definitely call it a beneficial one. Folks, this is a work in progress. I am not willing to say that I understand what's happening. But the fascinating part is trying to understand how it's actually working, because something is working, and that's marvelous. Talk to you again. Thanks for being with me. Bye now.